see, we got 3, 4. Hey, you notice how Slipper's been acting pretty weird lately?
He's old. Old people act weird.
Yeah, but he's been kind of acting weirder than normal lately. See, look at him. Yeah, look at what he's doing. That ain't normal.
Maybe he's taking up breakdancing.
I don't know.
He looks fine to me.
I'm gonna go see what he's doing. Slippers, what are you doing? Get in here. See, Paul, look at him. Look at the way he's acting.
Yeah.
He's acting the same way he acted outside. I'm worried about him. Maybe we should call an ambulance.
We're not calling no ambulance. Too bad. Oh, he's all right. You're all right. I'm just Slippy.
Goodbye. He's still alive, goodbye. He's still alive, goodbye.
Get him off me, Pop! Pterodactyl here, and today's video's on this. Check this thing out. Look at this thing. It looks like a mini dune buggy, but it's got a bed on it, like a truck. You know what this thing is? I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to reveal what it is. It's a held hauler. Remember the held? Remember that mini bike I had that I sold in Portland? That was a held mini bike. Carl Held Industries, CHI. Built all kinds of mini bikes and stuff. This is something he built. It's called a held hauler, mark HX4660. This thing is pretty cool. Reminds me of a dune buggy. This is from 1984. I bought this about 3 months ago from a guy locally. I knew he had it, and I told him if you ever wanted to sell it, let me know, and he got a hold of me. So this is a flatbed model. They also made one that had like a regular bed on it like a truck with sides and a tailgate. So you could get it in a flatbed model. They made all kinds of options for this thing. They made a hard cab with doors on it. And if you look at the dash, you could see there were spots for turn signals, windshield wiper, a washer for the windshield wiper. So this is like a little utility vehicle that they kind of tried to make it look like a dune buggy. And then I found out later on, like in the 90s, and we'll show you some pictures of this too, because the guy across the street had one in there for repair. They also made one that looked like a Jeep, almost like the Palomino. Exactly the same as this, but they made it look like a Jeep. So this one's in pretty rough shape. It doesn't run. The guy I got it from said, thinks it needs a starter. So this tilts up, and you can tell the seats the wood's all rotted and stuff. And then the bed flips up. So this thing's all original, from what my research tells me. It's got a 16 horse Briggs and Stratton opposed twin in here. And all that flex tubing and stuff you see going to the exhaust, this is all stock. So it's all there. It's in pretty decent shape. We just got to get it going. So there was a battery in it. The battery was dead. It was a fairly new battery. You can see it's got pine needles and stuff all over it. So we're gonna pop a battery in it and see what it does. It's got hydraulic rear brakes. And it's got this little transmission back here. Forward, reverse. And then this is how you shift it. See, here's the linkage. Follow it along. Here's the linkage from the trans. And it goes along here to the front. And then here's a lever right here. So this is how you would change the gears on it. And they also made this in a trike. So we're going to show you a brochure on this thing from 1987. This is the 84. I looked at the code date on the engine. This is the 84. But in 1987, there's a brochure. They also made this thing. It looks exactly the same up to here, but it had one wheel in the front and handlebars, like a tricycle. But this is the held hauler. And they claim this thing will go about 20 miles an hour. You know what this thing cost in 1987 in that brochure that we're going to show you? You bought it in a kit where you had to assemble it. It was almost $3,000. And if you wanted it assembled, it was $38.50. So that's pretty expensive, 1987. And then if you started buying all the options like the cab and everything else they had for it, windshield wiper and turn signal kit and all that stuff, you know, it could get up there pretty pricey, probably close to $4,000. But it's all here. Like I said, this cable for this is the parking brake. Because I kind of checked it over, that cable's broke. I'll fix that. But what we're going to concentrate on today is just getting it running so we could drive it. The held hauler. And then we're going to haul my keister around in it and see how it goes. Alright, I put the battery in after I charged it. And let's see if it does need a starter. Try to hit the key and see what happens. Oh yeah, it needs a starter. Does that sound good? Quit doing that, Taryl. What? Quit doing that, Taryl. What do you mean? I can't hear you. Quit doing that. That is annoying me. Yeah, it's annoying me too. Okay, so in order to put a starter in this thing, I'm going to have to pull the engine out. I'm having a hard time getting these exhaust muffin flex tube off. So since this is thin metal, I can use a propane torch. And I'm going to try my heat quench trick. So I'm going to try to heat this up without burning stuff inside there like that. All these pine needles. Maybe I can get this flex tubing off of here. Oh yeah, it's moving. There we go. Woo! Heat quench! Heat quench! Heat quench! Now I gotta do the other side. Alright, I have to jack this thing up so I can get underneath there to get at them engine bolts. And I know what you're thinking. I can hear you right now. Taryl, why didn't you use that lifty bill? What happened to that lifty bill? It broke, didn't it? It broke into pieces and it's out now. It's scrap metal now. No, let me tell you something about that lift I built. We use that thing about every day. And that thing has just worked so well, even with that cheap Harbor Freight winch on there. That thing sits outside. We never had a problem with it. Actually, we had to get ready for next spring here at the shop. So we had to purge that junkyard. And we took in over 6,000 pounds in scrap. That's right, we scrapped a bunch of tractors. And I know what you're saying. I can hear you grasping that saying, oh, Taryl, you probably threw away a bunch of good stuff. Well, we took all the parts off of it, these junk mowers and stuff that we see a lot of that we know we're gonna, may need. Because I can't keep all that stuff. I'll just be overwhelmed. I won't even be able to move. I'd be like a pack rat. You probably see me on hoarders. I'd be on hoarders. So yeah, we have to purge that junkyard every year, and we use that lift out there because it's on those wheels. So we can pick them tractors up, strip them, and then we put them in a dump trailer and we take them to the scrap yard and we get money for that scrap. And you know what, next year at this time, that junkyard will be full again. Full of new tractors and more junk. So I didn't feel like dragging that thing in here and having to lift this up, because I only need to lift it up a little bit. I thought about it, but that thing has really performed well. We haven't had any problems with it. Oh yeah, check this thing out in the front end. It's got A-arms on it and independent suspension and shocks. There's no shocks on the back, but it does have some kind of suspension on the front, which is making me think about the Palomino. I want to put suspension on that Palomino. Don't worry, that Palomino is going to be back in here at some point. When, I don't know. But it's going to be back in here. So now I can get underneath there and get at them engine bolts. And we're going to pull that engine out. Change that starter. Alright, I got the belt off the clutch. Got all the engine bolts out. The starter wire is still attached, but it's buried under there, so we got to kind of lift it out. So how do you like this lift? You know where I got this? Elk Skins. You know where Elk Skins got it? Like a lot of towns across America, you have these town-wide garage sales. Well, Elk Skins, after the town-wide garage sale was over, was driving around town and saw a bunch of stuff sitting in front of somebody's house, and it said free on it. Stuff they wanted to get rid of they couldn't sell in the garage sale. So he stopped and picked all this stuff up. And then he run by the shop because he was going to scrap all this. And he goes, hey, I think I got something you might want, Carl. Because that's how Elkskins talks too, like you guys. And I said, what do you got? And he said, this lift. And I said, heck yeah, I'll take that thing. So this is where I got this. All right, here's the starter wire. Oh, and it was loose. It's over on this side. But that ain't why it wouldn't start. You could hear it zinging. If you know anything about these old opposed twins, those starters go out. It's probably the original starter, so if it lasted 34 years, that's pretty good. And again, I could have used my lift that I built, but it's outside. Figured I'd use the Elkskins lift. The Elkskins lift. This thing goes up pretty high too, and it says a maximum capacity of 400 pounds. So it probably wouldn't have lifted Elkskin. I'm just joking. He don't weigh 400 pounds. Probably 200 pounds. All right, I'm gonna let this thing down. Since I had it jacked up, that'll give me a little more space here. Woo, it's out. Woo! And another thing with these opposed twins is the coils go out. So since I'm going to have it apart, I'm going to take this shroud and everything off to get at that starter, to get it off of there. I'm probably going to put a new coil on it too, because I'm not going to go through all this work of taking this thing out to put a starter in it and be driving it around and have the coil go out next. So I'll put a new coil in it, put a new starter on it, get all this pine needles out of here. We'll slap this baby back in and take it for a ride. 20 miles an hour. All right, I got all the bolts pulled out of the shroud. Pull this cover off. Oh, yeah, look at that crap in there. That looks like original coil. No fluffy. Oh man, look at how old that is. It's got, when they used to sell you the coil with the magnetron on it. When they, see, because it says magnetron. And this is how the coil would come. This is an original magnetron coil. I don't know if I should replace it or not, because the newer ones are like kind of crappy. But I'm going to replace it anyway. And then here's the model type and code, like I told you. And again, see, 84. Right there above my thumb. Thumbkin. $1984. And then there's the starter. And look. Look.
Why don't you just replace the Bendix, Taryl? The starter sounded like it was good. Just put a new Bendix on it.
Well, I got a new starter. And again, it was a lot of work. I'd rather put new on it. I could put a new Bendix on this starter. And I could sell it to somebody as a good use starter. So to get this starter off, you know, here's one of the bolts. The other bolt's underneath the flywheel. It's kind of tricky to get at. You can get at it, but it makes it a lot easier if you pull the flywheel. And then this way I could take a look at the alternator, get a look at that, make sure that's all right. So I'll go ahead and pull the flywheel. So we'll put a new starter on it, new coil, take a look at the alternator, and then we'll go from there. So looking at this alternator that's under here, this is a 28 volt AC alternator, because it's got a green connector on it with a black wire. I got a chart over there that shows you all these different alternators. So since I'm going to be in here again, I'm going to change out this alternator to a higher amperage alternator that uses a voltage regulator. So we can get a little bit more amperage and stuff to those headlights and stuff that are on there. So I'm going to be changing the starter, changing the coil, and I'm going to change this alternator to a higher amp alternator. And then I'm going to put this thing all back together and we're going to drop it in there. But to save on time, we're going to cut through all that. So the next time you see this thing, it's going to be, all those changes are going to be done. And this engine will be back in here, but look in here. See all this I gotta clean out? Get in here, Mr. Cameraman. Look at, there's pebbles and there's a nut in there from something. And so I want to clean all this out. All these leaves, clean this all up. And that'll save on time. Otherwise this video will be like 6 days long. But I did pop the flywheel, got it popped off. That way we'll have fresh new parts on here. Because this thing was running, and he was running and driving it before the starter went out. And then it just sat for months and months. Right, Joe? Joe watches the channel. He was asking me if I ever did a video on this. Hey, Joe. How you doing, Joe and Ben? Your mom? Hi, everybody over there. So yeah, we'll get this baby all back together with some fresh parts, and we'll go from there. Next time you see this thing, it'll be together and I'll be firing it up, firing it up, firing it up. Just shut up, elk skins! Elk skins. He's in my head. You don't want him in there. You gotta get elk skins out of your head. Fire it up, fire it up, fire it up! Wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, screaming, fire it up. That's scary. Fire it up, fire it up, fire it up! Got the engine all freshened up and upgraded. Got the new starter on it. Got the new, bigger alternator with the voltage regulator. Got that mounted. Couple of nutserts. Use that nutsert tool. What else did I do? I dropped the oil pan on it. Put a new oil pan gasket on it and then took a peek inside just to see everything was good since I had it up in the air. Put a new dipstick grommet in there. Put a fuel pump kit in the carburetor. Took the carburetor apart, took a peek inside. It was nice and clean. This little vent tube here was all rotted away. So I dug through them bins of new old stock parts my brother Apparel gave me, and lo and behold, had a brand new old stock tube. Because this thing is pretty pricey. They still make this part, but it's pretty pricey. So that saved me some money. And then I went ahead and repainted the air filter while I had it. Now these tins, these engine tins, I just cleaned them up and shot some clear over them. But the engine block, I degreased it all and figured, you know, I got it apart, might as well give it a lick of paint. So I gave it a lick of paint. So I gotta put some dinosaur syrup in it. And we'll drop the motor back in. I'll run new fuel lines to it. And we'll get this thing fired up. Pull the clutch off, made sure that was on there, rusted on there. Got it all never seized, so that'll come on and off in case I gotta take it off in the future. I won't be fighting it. But now that it's cleaned up, it's really not that bad to pull this engine out. And I did everything on this lift. I never even took it off this lift. What's nice about it, I painted it on here. I cleaned it on here. You know, I blocked off all the porting and hit it with that gunk engine cleaner, and it got real clean. Painted the fan, and look, put a Taryl sticker on it. Got that upgraded coil, the new electronic ignition coil on it, ran a new kill wire. So yeah, it's all freshened up. So I was thinking about this, you know, I don't know how many people I know that go to the junkyard and get a junk engine to put in their car, you know, because they need another engine. And it's like, didn't you freshen that motor up before you dropped it in the car? And we're like, no. Well, what do you mean freshen it up? I go, you got an engine out of a junkyard. You know, it's got miles on it. You had the engine out on a stand. I know when I used to do engine swaps like that, I'd put a new water pump, new alternator, new belt, new oil pump, new plugs, tune it all up while it's out instead of sitting there bent over inside the car doing all that. Get the motor all freshened up and then drop it back in the car, you're good to go. Change the trans fluid. So this is what else I did. I went and got me some treated deck lumber. Cameraman tripping all over the place. And I made me some steak bed. Not the kind of steak you eat. These kind of steaks, like you kill a vampire with. So check it out. This is all removable. Put a couple of headache boards on there. So look what I did back here to hold this on, to stiffen it. What I did is, I took a lag bolt, cut the head off, drilled a hole in it so I could put that pin in there, and then screwed it into here. So now I could pull this off. And look what I did here to keep this thing from swiveling. Took a little short piece of chain and then I spiraled a spring around it. I had these springy springs because this thing was flopping around. See, it kind of holds it for you so you don't lose that clip. So you can pull these, pull this back, get it off those pins. You take this off. And then I got barrel bolt on here. Mounted a barrel bolt And then I was only going to go 2 boards high. And then I had these little short cutoffs left. So I added those up there. Ripped these down on my table saw. This is all out of treated lumber. So look, that comes off. So quick and easy. And then this will even slide out of them pockets if I want. I can take this headache board off. You know why they call it a headache board? If you're hauling something and it slams up against the back of your head, it's going to give you a headache. Yeah. And I can lickety split. Put these back on again. And it'll still tilt. Still tilt the bed. I might eventually add one of those linear actuators to it and I can get it to power lift. Now I don't know if the camera's going to catch this or not, but if you look here, this looks like it's crooked. Because I know a lot of y'all out there, you really look at stuff and you go, Taryl, you did a bad job. You didn't put that board in there straight. No, it's not the board. It's the seat. Because look at this bolt here. You can clearly see the whole head of it, and look down here. So remember, this thing came in a kit. You had to put it together. So whoever put it together mounted that crooked. But I'm going to fix that when I go to reupholster it in the future. We just want to get it running. We're going to spruce it up a little more, but let's get it running right now. So, all I got to do is put the engine back in. I'm going to run new fuel line. Drain out the gas in there. Doesn't look like it's bad, but I'm going to drain it out anyway. Run new fuel line. Put the engine back in. And we're going to, you know what Elkin says. What does he say? You know what he says. Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up! Like my pot holders. Like my little fancy pot holders. I got these in Portland. There was a woman that makes these and was selling them in the booth. I wish she had an oven mitt. I wish she made an oven mitt. You know what these are good for? Grabbing hot parts. I know you're thinking, yeah, it's good for cooking. It's for holding a hot pan. Yeah, also holding a hot muffin or something. And my apron, like my apron. You can buy these in our store. Can use it as a work apron, or you can use it for cooking, or you can use it for both. Look, you can wipe your dirty hands all over my face when you get mad. That didn't work, Taryl. You're gonna get dirty. All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's get this engine in and get this thing running and make sure it works and goes forward and reverse and all that happy stuff. Well, I pulled the fuel tank to change the fuel line. It's all spongy. And I noticed there's no shutoff on here. So, luckily, I own a lawnmower shop. So I got me one of these Briggs & Stratton aftermarket shutoffs I'm going to add to there. And then we'll get the tank back in. And another thing I noticed is when I went to hook up the wires, since I got this voltage regulator over here now, the other wire for the alternator was on this side, so I got to run it over there. And then since that was a 28 volt AC alternator that was on there, they put a diode in the wire. And what that diode does is kind of smooth out the voltage from AC to make it DC. So since I have this regulator, I don't need this diode. So I got to cut this diode out because I want to use this connector again. So I'm going to cut this diode out, solder the wire together, And then I noticed that when I went to reroute the wire over here, somebody had already chopped into the wire. I don't know, because the wires run underneath. Maybe it got caught on something and ripped it out at one point. So I got to fix that wire, and then we'll be pretty close to firing it up. Another thing I noticed is this engine is slotted. And there was a footprint down here of other slots. So you could put different engines in here. So I kind of moved the engine forward a little bit, because if you move it back, it's going to make the belt looser, which means you can rev it up higher to get it to engage, or move it forward so when you hit the gas a little bit, it'll engage right away and make it take off. So I just kind of tried to find like a happy medium. But let me get this alternator wire straightened out and hooked up, and get the new shut off in there, and get the new fuel line put on, and hopefully it'll run and drive. It should. Alright, I got it all back together, and it started. I had to give it a little help till it got the fuel pumped up, but it does run. Headlights work. Low beams, high beams work. A little map light in here works. I gotta fix it a little more, but it does work. The only thing that don't work is the horn. The horn don't work. Well, let's take it out for a ride. Let's fire it up, fire it up, fire. Where is he? Fun. Look at the fun I had. I had a lot of fun, didn't I? Look at the dirt and the mud. Yeah, look at the motor's still clean. Still clean back there. And my bed stayed on. Look at the back of the bed. It's all dirty, full of dirt, man. I was kicking some sand. I was getting it. I was getting it. This thing is neat. I'm keeping this one. I like this one. Nice and small, like a golf cart. So there's some other stuff I need to do to it, but at least we got it running and working. Probably redo the seats. Probably do the rims. I'm not gonna do like a total restoration on it, but maybe these metal bars and the bumper. But I think I'll just keep the regular patina and stuff on it the way it is, that paint and the bed. Maybe put some padding back here for the headache board. I got some padding I can put on there. Yeah, look at it. Look at all the mud and the sand in there, man. When I put that thing in reverse and nailed it, it just shot sand. I could feel it kicking me in the back of the leg. I might have to make some kind of fender for the back. But what a blast! Man, I was having a blast. Look at this camera. This GoPro. Don't flop down on me. Well, there it is. There's the held head. There's the held hauler. And it was hauling me around. And it was fun. So, subscribe to this YouTube channel, Taryl Fixes All. This is me, Taryl, on the apron. Driving the held hauler, going crazy. In the dark. Barely see. Didn't hit anything. Didn't kill nobody or run anybody over or injure anyone. Follow me with your held haulers on Facebook and Instagram. Go to our web store. Buy some Taryl apparel. You can buy this apron. Looks good on you. I can already see it on you, you grass rats out there. You need one of these. And as always, there's your dinner. Woo! Held hauler! Hauling butt! What a neat little toy this is. Looks like a dune buggy with a bed on it. A mini dune buggy. Man, is this thing cool. I like it. Woo! I love it! Woo!
Yeah, get him off me, Pop!
Like
Yeah, he's strong!
You still like
For an
Coupon?
87-year-old man, he's pretty strong! Ah!
You still like
Ah!
Coupon? You still like Coupon? You still like...
What'd you do, Pa? How'd you make him stop?
Alright, Junior, I guess I'm gonna have to tell you, Slippers is a robot, and I built him.
What? A robot? Is that why he's so strong?
Yeah, he's bionic. And that smell you smell is, he runs on fecal matter. Plus it adds a more lifelike scent to it.
Oh, yeah. I can smell that part of him.
But I think I know what's wrong, and why he's malfunctioning. I've been having some trouble with this part malfunctioning. I think I'm gonna have to change vendors. But in the meantime, I think I got some spares out in the shed. Alright, I think I'll take the chip out of this one. This one's a piece of crap anyway. Alright, I got it. Alright. Hey! Hey, who's over there? Who's in here?
It's me, Uncle Andy!
It's the Uncle Andy robot. I thought I powered him down. I'm gonna have to change the batteries in this thing.
You got any chip boy?
There we go. Alright, this should be a good part. Alright. Power him back on.
Can I speak with the manager? Because you're not going to honor this coupon that's only expired.
See, Junior, it's
by
all
like
back to
6
normal.
weeks. I mean, that's been...
You're right about that, Pa. Pa, 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 Pa.
Looks like it's back out to the shed.